Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship Aurora's Edge and watched the stars drift by. His hands rested on the control panel as he guided the vessel toward another meeting that would probably end badly for humanity. This had become normal over the past 3 years since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Every trade deal hurt them. Every agreement left humans with less than they deserved. But they kept trying to be nice. Ambassador Lisa Grant walked onto the bridge. Carrying a stack of papers, she looked tired like she always did before these meetings. "Jake, how long until we reach the Zephyrian station?" 2 hours, ma'am," Jake replied. He knew what she was thinking. The Zephyrians would offer them another terrible trade agreement, and Lisa would have to smile and accept it.
Oh.
That was how things worked in the galaxy. Humans were new, so they had to take whatever scraps the older species threw at them. Lisa sat down in the chair next to him. "Tell me honestly, Jake, do you think we're doing the right thing? Taking all these bad deals?" Jake looked at her carefully. He had served in Earth's military for 15 years before becoming a diplomat ship captain. He knew things that Lisa did not know, things that most humans did not know. "Ma'am, I think we're doing what we have to do, for now." Communications panel beeped. A message was coming in from the Zephyrian Commerce Guild. Lisa activated the screen, and the face of Trade Director Kexmal appeared. The Zephyrian looked like a tall, thin bird with blue feathers and 4 arms. "Human Ambassador Grant," Kexmal said in his high, squeaky voice. "We have prepared new terms for the grain shipment agreement. You will find them most generous." Lisa knew the terms would not be generous at all. They never were. But she smiled. "Anyway, thank you, Trade Director. We look forward to reviewing your proposal." After the call ended, Jake turned to Lisa. "Ma'am, can I ask you something? Do you ever wonder why all the other species seem so soft?" Lisa raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I've been reading the files on galactic species. Every single one of them evolved from prey animals, herd creatures. Animals that ran away from danger instead of fighting it. Even the ones that call themselves warriors, like the Corvani, they're just prey animals with fancy armor." Lisa had never thought about this before. "And humans? We evolved from hunters, ma'am. Pack hunters who chase down animals bigger and stronger than us. We didn't run from the lions and bears on Earth. We hunted them until they were afraid of us." Before Lisa could respond, another message came through. This one was not from the Zephyrians. The sender identification showed it was from the hegemony of Score. Lisa felt her stomach drop. The Score were the galaxy's newest aggressive species. They had been taking over planets on the outer rim for the past year. The face that appeared on screen was reptilian, with green scales and yellow eyes. "I am Commander Vexi of the Score hegemony. I address the human government." Jake quickly activated the recording system. "This was not a normal trade call. Your species has established a colony called New Haven in Sector 47. This sector now belongs to the Score hegemony. You have 72 hours to remove all humans from this world, or we will remove them for you." The screen went black. Lisa and Jake stared at each other in shock. "New Haven has 10,000 people," Lisa whispered. "Families, children. They've been farming there for 8 years. Jake was already pulling up the colony files. New Haven was indeed a farming world. The colonists grew food crops that fed 3 other human settlements. They had built schools, hospitals, and homes. They had made a life there. "We have to contact the Galactic Council," Lisa said. "They'll help us negotiate with the Score." Jake doubted this, but he opened a channel to the council station anyway. The response came quickly. Council Speaker Thyman appeared on screen. The Thyman were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They looked like walking trees with faces. Ambassador Grant Thyman said in his slow, deep voice, "We have received the Score ultimatum regarding your colony. Speaker Thyman, we request the Council's assistance in protecting our people. The Score have no legal claim to that sector." Thyman's bark-like face showed no emotion. "The Council has reviewed this matter. The Score claim is based on right of conquest. This is recognized under galactic law. Furthermore, humanity must learn its place in the galactic order. New species often require discipline to understand proper behavior." Lisa felt her face go red with anger. You're saying you won't help us? The Council will not interfere and score? Discipline of subordinate species? This decision is final. The communication ended. Lisa sat in stunned silence. Jake felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. He had been a soldier before becoming a captain. He knew what betrayal felt like. "Ma'am," Jake said quietly, "I need to send a message to Earth Command." Lisa nodded without speaking. She was thinking about the children on New Haven, the families who had trusted Earth's government to protect them. Jake opened a secure channel. To Earth, the face of Admiral Peter Hayes appeared on screen. Hayes was the head of Earth's Space Command, though most aliens thought humans only had a few old cargo ships. "Captain Morrison," Hayes said, "I assume you've heard about New Haven." "Yes, sir. The Council refuses to help. They say the score have the right to take our people." Hayes was quiet for a moment. "Captain, I'm about to share classified information with you. Are you prepared for that?" "Yes, sir. We've been building, Captain. For 3 years, while we smiled and took their bad deals, we've been building. The galaxy thinks we have 12 ships. We actually have 800. Jake felt his world shift. 800 ships, sir. 800 ships with weapons and defenses the galaxy has never seen. We've been playing weak because we wanted to see what kind of neighbors we had. Now we know." Lisa was listening now. Her diplomatic training told her this was impossible. Nations did not hide that kind of military strength. "Sir," Jake said, "what are your orders?" "Get Ambassador Grant to safety. Then report to Fleet Assembly Point 7. It's time to show the galaxy what humans actually look like when someone threatens our families." The communication ended. Jake turned to Lisa. "Ma'am, we need to get you back to Earth." "No," Lisa said firmly. "I'm staying. If we're going to war, the galaxy needs to hear from Earth's ambassador. They need to understand why we're doing this." Jake nodded. He understood. The galaxy had spent 3 years thinking humans were weak and desperate for approval. They were about to learn that humans had been polite because they chose to be polite, not because they had to be. "Ma'am," Jake said, "there's something else you should know. Remember what I said about humans being hunters?" "Yes." "Every other species in the galaxy lives maybe 30 or 40 Earth years. They reproduce fast and die young. Humans live 4 times longer. Our soldiers train for longer than most aliens are alive. And we evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day." Lisa was beginning to understand. "We're not like them." "At all? Are we?" "No, ma'am. We're not. And they're about to find out what that means." As the Aurora's edge changed course toward Earth, Jake thought about the score fleet heading toward New Haven. They expected easy victory. They expected humans to run away or surrender without a fight. They were about to meet a species that had spent millions of years learning how to hunt things that were bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than they were. They were about to meet the children of Earth. The galaxy was about to learn why humans called their homeworld a death world. And why that was not just a description, but a warning. The message from New Haven reached Earth in less than 6 hours. President Susan Clark sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the White House, surrounded by her most trusted advisors. The holographic display showed the score fleet moving toward the human colony. 47 ships, all armed and ready for war. General Chris Baker pointed at the display. "Madam President, we have 72 hours before their deadline. The score expects us to abandon our people or watch them die." Secretary of Defense Karen White leaned forward. "What are our real options here? Not the public ones, the real ones." President Clark looked around the room. These people had been keeping Earth's biggest secret for 3 years. "Admiral Hayes, show them everything." Admiral Peter Hayes stood up and activated the classified display system. The room filled with light as hundreds of ship markers appeared in the hologram. Sleek destroyers, massive battle cruisers, and carrier ships that could hold thousands of fighters. "Ladies and gentlemen," Hayes said, "meet the real Earth Defense Fleet. 800 ships. All built in secret shipyards on the dark side of the moon and in the asteroid belt." Intelligence Director Rick Thompson whistled softly. "The aliens have no idea. None at all," Hayes confirmed. They think we have 12 old cargo ships and maybe some mining equipment. They've never seen our real technology because we've been very careful to hide it. Dr. Helen Foster, Earth's chief scientist for alien studies, pulled up her research files. I've been studying every species in the galaxy for 3 years. The results are disturbing. She showed them biological data from dozens of alien races. Every single species we've encountered evolved from prey animals, creatures that survive by running away, hiding, or living in large herds. Their brains are wired for submission and group survival. What does that mean for us? Asked President Clark. It means they literally cannot understand how predators think. When we act diplomatic, they see weakness. When we make compromises, they see fear. They have no concept of a species that chooses to be nice instead of being forced to be nice. General Baker nodded grimly. It's worse than that. They've analyzed their military tactics. They fight like animals, trying to scare away other animals. Lots of noise, lots of display, but they avoid actual violence whenever possible. Their idea of war is making the other side too afraid to fight back. In human military doctrine? President Clark asked, though she already knew the answer. We fight to win, completely and permanently. When humans go to war, we don't stop until the enemy cannot fight anymore. Ever. Admiral Hayes brought up tactical displays of human weapons. Systems. Our railguns can fire projectiles at 12% of light speed. Our ships can accelerate at forces that would turn alien crews into liquid. Our armor is made from materials that can only be forged under Earth's extreme conditions. But it's not just the technology, added Dr. Foster. It's the psychology. Humans are persistence hunters. We evolved to chase prey for days or weeks until it collapsed from exhaustion. We never give up. Most alien species cannot even comprehend this kind of behavior. President Clark studied the faces around her. What you're telling me is that we've been pretending to be sheep while actually being wolves? More than that, said General Baker. We've been pretending to be sheep while actually being something they've never encountered before. A species that evolved specifically to survive on a planet that was actively trying to kill everything on it. The door opened and Captain Jake Morrison entered the room. He had just arrived from his diplomatic mission. Ambassador Lisa Grant followed him. Madam President, Lisa said, I've spent 3 years trying to make friends with these species. They see kindness as weakness and cooperation as surrender. The Galactic Council didn't just refuse to help us. They told us we deserved to be punished for not knowing our place. President Clark felt her anger rising. They said what? They called us a subordinate species that needed discipline. They said the score had the right to do whatever they wanted to our people. The room fell silent. Finally, President Clark spoke. Admiral Hayes, I want a full briefing on our military capabilities. Captain Morrison, I want you to tell me exactly what you observed about alien psychology during your diplomatic missions. For the next hour, they laid out everything. The alien species were not evil, but they were limited by their evolution. They could not understand a species that was both intelligent and predatory. They had created a galactic society based on submission hierarchies because that was the only social structure their pre-animal brains could comprehend. The problem, explained Dr. Foster, is that they've been running this system for thousands of years. Every time a species gets too independent or too strong, they arrange for one of their warrior races to attack them. The score are just the latest species they've enhanced and pointed at troublemakers. Intelligence Director Thompson opened a classified file. We've been monitoring galactic communications. Score weren't naturally aggressive. They were changed. Enhanced with drugs and psychological conditioning to make them into weapons? Who's controlling them? Asked President Clark. We're not sure yet, but someone is pulling the strings. The Galactic Council knows about it and approves of it. They use these enhanced warrior species to keep everyone else in line. Admiral Hayes brought up fleet deployment charts. Madam President, if we're going to act, we need to decide now. I can have the fleet at New Haven in 60 hours. But once we show our real strength, there's no going back to being the nice, weak humans who just want to get along. President Clark thought about the 10,000 families on New Haven, parents and children who had trusted Earth's government to protect them. Farmers and teachers and doctors who just wanted to live peaceful lives. What would happen if we do nothing? She asked. The score will either kill our people or take them as slaves, General Baker said bluntly. Then they'll move on to our next colony, and the one after that. The galaxy will see that humans can be destroyed without consequences. And if we fight back, we'll win, Admiral Hayes said with certainty. The question is what happens after we win. The entire galactic power structure is based on keeping species weak and afraid. If we break that system, everything changes. Lisa Grant spoke up. Madam President, I've been thinking about this. Maybe it's time for everything to change. Maybe. The galaxy needs to learn that there are species who won't be bullied. President Clark looked at each person in the room. These were good people who had spent years trying to find a peaceful way to integrate humanity into galactic society. They had failed not because they were weak, but because the galaxy was designed to crush anyone who refused to submit. Admiral Hayes, she said finally, you have authorization to deploy the full fleet? Show them what Earth looks like when someone threatens our families. Rules of engagement, Madam President? President Clark thought about the Galactic Council's response. About being called a subordinate species that needed discipline, about 10,000 humans who were about to die because their government had tried too hard to be nice, disable their fleet if possible. But Admiral, make sure they understand that. This is what happens when someone threatens humans. Make sure the whole galaxy understands. Admiral Hayes smiled grimly. Yes, ma'am, it'll be my pleasure. As the meeting broke up, Dr. Foster approached the president. Ma'am, there's one more thing you should know. I've been analyzing human psychology compared to alien psychology. We're not just different from them. We're their worst nightmare. How? So, prey animals fear predators, but they understand them. What they can't understand is a predator that also protects other species. A predator that chooses when to hunt and when to help. They have no evolutionary framework for understanding humans. Which means when we reveal ourselves, we won't just be changing the balance of power. We'll be breaking their understanding of how the universe works. Some of them may not be able to handle it psychologically. President Clark nodded slowly. Then we'll have to help them adapt. But first, we save our people. Earth's hidden fleet began to move toward New Haven. A new chapter in galactic history was about to begin. The galaxy was about to meet humanity as it really was, not as it had pretended to be. And nothing would ever be the same. Commander Vexhai of the Score Hegemony stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the human colony of New Haven through the view screen. The planet looked peaceful from space. Green fields, small cities, and no sign of military defenses. This would be easy. The Score fleet had arrived 12 hours early, hoping to catch the humans off guard. 47 ships surrounded the planet in standard intimidation formation. Vexhai expected the humans to surrender immediately or try to evacuate their people in cargo ships. Commander, his tactical officer reported, "We are detecting some unusual readings from the planet's surface." What kind of readings? The humans appear to be moving underground, deep underground. We're seeing massive excavation signatures. Vexhai was puzzled. Most species either fled or cowered when the Score arrived. They didn't dig holes. Are they trying to hide? Unknown, sir. But they're moving fast. Almost like they planned this. On the planet's surface, Governor Tom Bradley stood in the command center, buried 3 miles below New Haven's main city. The underground facility had been built during the colony's first year, officially for asteroid protection. In reality, it was designed to withstand orbital bombardment. We still moving? Tom asked his deputy. Last transport just arrived? All 10,000 colonists are in the deep shelters. It's food and water for 6 months. Tom nodded and opened a communication channel to the Score fleet. Commander Vexhai's scaled face appeared on the screen. Human Governor Vexhai said in his harsh voice, "You have 6 hours remaining to evacuate this planet. We will not warn you again." "Commander Vexhai," Tom replied calmly, "I have a message for you from the people of New Haven. We're not leaving." Vexhai's yellow eyes widened. In his experience, prey species always ran when threatened. You cannot resist the score hegemony. We have 47 warships. We have something you don't understand yet, but you will. Tom cut the communication and turned to his defense coordinator. Send the signal to Earth Command. Tell them we're ready. 3 hours later, score sensors began detecting strange readings at the edge of the star system. Space itself seemed to be bending and twisting in impossible ways. Commander, the sensor officer called out nervously. We're getting gravitational distortions on the system perimeter. Massive ones. What could cause that? Vex High demanded. Nothing in our database, sir. The physics don't make sense. What the score didn't know was that human ships used gravitational lensing to bend light around their hulls. 2 alien sensors. They were invisible. The score had never developed stealth technology because their pre-animal evolution had never required them to hide from anything. Admiral Nathan Cross stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship, Earthborn, and watched the tactical display. 800 human ships were moving into position around the score fleet. The aliens had no idea they were surrounded. Admiral reported Captain Betty Rodriguez, his tactical officer. All ships are in position. The score fleet is completely enclosed. Any sign they've detected us? None, sir. Their sensors can't penetrate our stealth systems. Admiral Cross opened a communication channel that would broadcast on all frequencies. Every ship in the system would hear this message, including any alien observers who might be watching from a distance. This is Admiral Nathan Cross of the Human Defense Fleet. Score vessels, you have threatened human civilians. You have 60 seconds to begin immediate withdrawal from this system. We will demonstrate why our species survived on a death world. On the score flagship, chaos erupted. Commander Vexy stared at his screens in disbelief as 800 human ships suddenly appeared from empty space. Sleek destroyers, massive battle cruisers, and carrier ships that dwarfed anything in the score fleet? Impossible, Vex High shouted. The Galactic database shows humans have only 12 vessels. Admiral Cross's voice came back calm and cold. The Galactic database shows what we chose to reveal. 30 seconds remaining. His mind raced. This had to be some kind of trick. The score hegemony had conquered 17 systems using their standard tactics. Arrive with overwhelming force, make threats, accept surrender. It always worked because prey species were programmed by evolution to submit to superior strength. But humans were not prey species. And Vexai was about to learn what that meant. All ships, Vexai ordered, open fire. Show these Deathworlders the power of the score. The score fleet unleashed everything they had. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic missiles streaked toward the human ships. For a moment, space lit up like a fireworks display. Then the human fleet responded. What happened next would be remembered across the galaxy as the 60-second war. Human railguns fired projectiles accelerated to 12% of light speed. The rounds punched through score shields like they were made of paper. But the humans were not trying to destroy the score ships. They were surgically disabling them. Captain Steve Collins commanded the destroyer. Lightning strike and watched his targeting computer identify weak points on score vessels. Weapons control, target their engines and weapon systems only. We want them alive. Understood, Captain. Firing. The lightning strike's railgun sent a tungsten rod through the engine section of a score cruiser. The alien ship went dead in space. Powerless but intact. Across the battlefield, the same scene played out 47 times. Human ships moved with accelerations that should have been impossible. Their crews protected by inertial dampening systems that alien science couldn't explain. The score had never seen anything like it. Admiral reported Captain Rodriguez, enemy fleet is completely disabled. Total engagement time, 67 seconds. But Admiral Cross was not finished. He opened another communication channel, this one directed at the Galactic Council and every major government in known space. This is Admiral Cross of the Human Defense Fleet. Let the record show that the score hegemony attacked human civilians without provocation. Let the record also show that when threatened, humans do not run. We fight and we win. He paused, letting that sink in across dozens of worlds. The galaxy has spent 3 years thinking humanity was weak because we chose diplomacy over violence. You were wrong. We chose diplomacy because we hoped you were better than this. You have proven you are not. On the Score flagship, Commander Vexai sat in his command chair, stunned. His entire fleet had been neutralized in just over a minute. But what shocked him more was that the humans had not killed anyone. His crew was alive, his ship was intact, just powerless. Admiral Cross's voice continued broadcasting. Attention all species currently listening to this transmission. Humanity hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council. We reject a system that allows the strong to prey upon the weak. We reject a government that refuses to protect the innocent. In government centers across the galaxy, alien leaders watched, in growing panic as the humans revealed capabilities that should not have existed. Furthermore, Admiral Cross continued, humanity claims protection over all colonies and settlements established by human civilians. Any attack on human civilians will be considered an act of war against Earth. And as you have just seen, that is not a war you can win. Colonel Beth Martinez led the boarding parties onto the disabled Score ships. Human Marines moved through alien corridors like they were walking through Earth's deadliest jungles. They had trained for this kind of operation in environments that would kill most alien species. Secure the command centers, Colonel Martinez ordered. Stun weapons only. We need prisoners for interrogation. The Score crew members they encountered seemed to be in a state of shock. They had never seen beings move with such purpose and efficiency. Human soldiers were not like the prey species they were used to conquering. These were predators who had chosen to be civilized, and that choice could be revoked. On the Earthborn, Dr. Carl Johnson began analyzing data from the captured Score ships. What he found changed everything about humanity's understanding of galactic politics. Admiral Dr. Johnson reported urgently, "You need to see this. The Score aren't naturally aggressive. They've been chemically enhanced. Someone has been turning them into weapons." Admiral Cross studied the biological data. Enhanced by whom? It's unknown. But whoever did this has been doing it for a long time. The enhancement process burns out their natural lifespans. The Score were being used up and discarded. This revelation spread quickly through the human fleet. The Score were not evil conquerors. They were victims of manipulation, enhanced and controlled by someone else. Admiral Captain Rodriguez said quietly, "If the Score are being controlled, then we're not dealing with just one aggressive species. We're dealing with whoever is pulling the strings." Admiral Cross looked at the tactical display showing the disabled Score fleet. Somewhere in the galaxy, puppet masters were watching this battle and planning their next move. "And we find out who's really responsible," he said grimly, "when we end this system of control permanently." The Battle of New Haven was over, but the war for the galaxy's freedom was just beginning. The medical bay aboard the human flagship Earthborn was unlike anything Commander Vexai had ever seen. The Score leader lay on a treatment table while Dr. Lisa Turner worked to reverse the chemical changes that had been done to his body and mind. "The process will take several hours," Dr. Turner explained to Admiral Cross. "His entire nervous system has been altered. Someone has been pumping combat drugs and psychological conditioning into his species for decades." Admiral Cross watched. The readings on the medical monitors. How bad is it? Bad. The Score were naturally peaceful creatures, herbivores who lived in small family groups. The enhancement process turned them into something completely different. As the treatment continued, Commander Vexai began to change. His yellow eyes became clearer. His aggressive posture relaxed. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, softer, more confused. "Where am I?" he asked weakly. "You're safe," Dr. Turner replied. "You're on a human medical ship. We're helping you." Vexai tried to sit up, then stopped as memories flooded back. "The fleet? My ships? What happened to my crews?" "They're alive," Admiral Cross said, stepping forward. "All of them. We disabled your ships, but we didn't kill anyone. Your people are receiving the same treatment you are." Vexai stared at him in confusion. "You defeated us, but you didn't kill us. That makes no sense. This victory means death for the defeated. It's not to humans." Admiral Cross replied, "We fight to protect people, not to destroy them. I need to ask you some questions. Who gave your people the enhancement drugs?" As the chemicals left his system, Vexai's natural personality began to emerge. He was nothing like the aggressive commander who had threatened New Haven. He was quiet, thoughtful, and deeply disturbed by what he was remembering. "The architects," he said finally. "They came to our world 200 years ago. They said they were ancient beings who maintained galactic order. They told us we could become strong, become rulers, instead of being ruled." Captain Steve Collins, Earth's intelligence chief, leaned forward. "What did these architects look like? We never saw them clearly. They appeared as shifting energy patterns, voices without bodies. They said they were too advanced for us to perceive their true forms. What exactly did they do to your people?" Vexai's hands shook as he remembered. "They gave us the treatments. Drugs that made us aggressive, competitive, violent. They changed our children from the moment they were born. Within 50 years, we had forgotten what we used to be." Dr. Turner checked her readings. "The process is designed to burn out their natural lifespans. The score would have started dying off in another generation or two. They were using us," Vexai realized with growing horror. "We were weapons, disposable weapons. How many other species have they done this to?" Admiral Cross asked. "Many of the Corvain crystal legions before us? I mean the Nethrix death swarms before them? Each species gets enhanced, used to attack troublesome worlds, then discarded when we become too independent, or start asking questions." The implications were staggering. For centuries, maybe millennia, puppet masters had been creating artificial warrior races to maintain control over the galaxy. Meanwhile, on the planet below, Ambassador Lisa Grant was receiving reports from across known space. The news of humanity's victory had spread like wildfire through galactic communication networks. "Ma'am," reported intelligence agent Ryan Garcia, "we're getting responses from dozens of species. Most of them are terrified, but some are asking for help." Lisa studied the incoming messages. What kind of help? Protection from their own warrior castes. It seems the architects have been running this operation on a massive scale. Almost every major government has been controlled by enhanced species. The scope of the conspiracy was becoming clear. The Galactic Council itself was not the real government. It was a front organization managed by species that had been enhanced and controlled to serve the architects' purposes. "Agent Garcia," Lisa said, "I want you to compile a list of every species that has contacted us. You need to understand how deep this goes." On the Earthborn, Admiral Cross was learning even more disturbing information from the recovering score. Prisoners. "The architects don't just control warrior species," explained a score engineer named Kexanol. "They have agents in every major government, scientists, politicians, military leaders, all of them enhanced to serve the architects' agenda." "What is their agenda?" asked Captain Collins. "We were never told the full plan, but we heard rumors. They're preparing for something big, something that requires the entire galaxy to be under their control." Dr. Carl Johnson, the fleet's xenobiologist, had been analyzing data from the score ships. His findings were disturbing. "Admiral," he reported, "I've found evidence of architect technology throughout the galaxy. Not just in the enhancement process, but in transportation systems, communication networks. Even in the basic infrastructure that holds galactic civilization together, they've been building a control system," Admiral Cross realized. "For thousands of years, they've been slowly taking over everything. It's worse than that," Dr. Johnson continued. "I've been analyzing the patterns. The architects aren't native to this galaxy. They're refugees from somewhere else. Based on the technology, signatures, they're preparing to strip mine our galaxy's resources and move on." The revelation hit Admiral Cross like a physical blow. The galaxy was not being ruled by ancient masters. It was being harvested by cosmic parasites. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Based on the resource extraction patterns, maybe 50 years. Before they finish draining the galaxy and move on to their next target." Admiral Cross activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Cross. Stand by for priority orders." He turned to his staff. "We're not just fighting for human freedom anymore. We're fighting for the survival of every species in the galaxy." On Earth, President Clark was receiving similar reports from her intelligence agencies. The situation was far worse than anyone had imagined. Madame President General Baker reported, we're getting confirmation from multiple sources. The architects have been using the galaxy as a resource extraction operation for thousands of years. Every major war, every economic crisis, every political upheaval has been designed to serve their purposes. What about the Galactic Council? President Clark asked, completely compromised. Most of the leadership has been enhanced or replaced. The few clean members are being kept in the dark about the real situation. Secretary of Defense Karen White brought up strategic projections. Ma'am, if we're going to act against the architects, we need to move fast. They know we're onto them now. They'll start accelerating their timeline. What do you recommend? We need allies. The Score are already switching sides as their people recover from the enhancement process. Several other species have reached out to us, but we need to move carefully. The architects have had thousands of years to prepare for this. Back on the Earthborn, Commander Vex High was fully recovered from his treatment. He looked like a completely different being. Gone was the aggressive posture and harsh demeanor. In its place was a quiet dignity that spoke of his species' true nature. Admiral Cross, he said, I want to help you stop the architects. My people have been their slaves for 2 centuries. We want our freedom back. What can you tell us about their operations? They have bases throughout the galaxy, hidden stations, research facilities, control centers. Most species don't even know they exist, but I can give you locations. Admiral Cross nodded. Commander, I'm going to make you an offer. Full alliance between humanity and the Score. We help your people recover from the enhancement process. And you help us fight the architects. Vex High extended his hand in a gesture of friendship. Admiral, my people would be honored to fight alongside the species that freed us from slavery. As they shook hands, Admiral Cross felt the weight of what was coming. The galaxy was about to face a war unlike anything in its history.
Not a war between species,
but a war for the very survival of galactic civilization. The architects had spent millennia building their control system. Now they would learn what happened when that system faced a species that had evolved to survive anything the universe could throw at them. The real war was about to begin. The architect fleet appeared at the edge of the Nexus system like shadows coming to life. Their ships were ancient beyond imagination, built with technology that bent the laws of physics. Some vessels existed partially outside normal space. Others, phased in and out of reality like ghosts, made of metal and energy. Admiral Nathan Cross stood on the bridge of the Earthborn and watched the enemy fleet take formation. 3 months had passed since the Battle of New Haven. 3 months of desperate preparation as humanity and its new allies readied for this final confrontation. Admiral reported Captain Betty Rodriguez, we count over 200 architect vessels. Plus they're bringing the remaining enhanced warrior fleets. The Corvani, the Nethrix, and at least 6 other species we haven't identified. And our forces? 400 human ships, plus 200 Score vessels under Commander Vex High, and alliance fleets from 12 other species. Total of about 800 ships. Admiral Cross nodded. The odds were better than he had hoped. When news of the architect conspiracy spread across the galaxy, dozens of species had asked to join the fight. Not all of them had military fleets, but they contributed what they could. The communication system activated, and a voice spoke that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was cold, ancient, and filled with contempt. Deathworld species designation. 7834 Omega, the voice said. You have disrupted galactic stability. Your interference with our resource management protocols cannot be tolerated. Report for processing or face extinction. Admiral Cross activated the fleet-wide communication system. His response would be heard by every ship in the system and by observers across the galaxy who were watching this battle. We are not a number in your database, he said calmly. We are humans. We are the people you've tried to control and failed. We are the species you underestimated because we chose to be civilized instead of savage. That was your mistake. The architect response came immediately. You cannot comprehend our purpose. We are the shepherds of galactic evolution. We guide species toward their proper roles in the cosmic order. Your cosmic order is slavery, Admiral Cross replied. And we're here to end it. President Susan Clark, watching from Earth, opened her own communication channel. This is the President of Earth. To every species listening to this transmission, know that today we fight not for conquest, but for freedom, not for dominance, but for the right of every intelligent species to determine its own destiny. The battle began without warning. Architect ships opened fire with weapons that shouldn't have existed. Energy beams that ignored shields, gravitational weapons that crushed space itself, temporal distortions that tried to erase targets from history. But humanity had been preparing for this fight. With the same determination that had carried them through ice ages and asteroid impacts on Earth, human ships scattered into combat formations, their crews protected by technologies reverse-engineered from Earth's most extreme environments. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the heavy cruiser New Haven's Revenge, led his squadron against an Architect battleship that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Ships target the dimensional anchor points. If we can't hit it in normal space, we'll force it into normal space. The human fleet's response was devastating. Railgun rounds accelerated to significant fractions of light speed punched through reality distortions. Fusion missiles guided by artificial intelligences that could think faster than any biological brain tracked targets through impossible geometries. But the real shock came when the enhanced warrior fleets arrived to support the architects. The Corvani Crystal Legions, the Nethrix Death Swarms, and half a dozen other enhanced species dropped out of faster-than-light travel, ready to destroy the human alliance. Then something unprecedented happened. Commander Vex High, leading the recovered Score Fleet, opened a communication channel to all the enhanced warriors. Brothers and sisters, we know what they did to us. Know what they're still doing to you. The humans freed us from the enhancement drugs. They can free you too. Effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the enhanced fleet's crews began to hesitate. Psychological conditioning that made them aggressive also made them curious about freedom. Colonel Beth Martinez, commanding Marine assault teams, led boarding actions against Architect ships. But these were not ordinary boarding actions. Human Marines moved through alien vessels that existed in multiple dimensions, using equipment and training that allowed them to fight in conditions that would drive most species insane. Target the control centers, Colonel Martinez ordered over the communication system. We need to capture Architect Command personnel alive. We need answers. The breakthrough came when Captain Steve Collins led a strike team into the Architect flagship. The ship's interior was a maze of twisted geometry and impossible physics. But humans had evolved to navigate Earth's most hostile environments. They adapted, Admiral Collins reported through the quantum communication link. You need to see this. The Architects aren't ancient masters. They're refugees. The discovery changed everything. Deep in the Architect Command Center, Collins and his team found the truth. The beings they had been fighting were the survivors of a dead galaxy, consumed by some cosmic disaster they called the Dark Cascade. They've been running for millions of years, Collins reported, jumping from galaxy to galaxy, stripping resources, then moving on when their current galaxy starts to die. They're not conquerors. They're cosmic parasites. Admiral Cross felt a cold understanding settle over him. How many galaxies have they destroyed? According to their records, dozens. Maybe hundreds. They've been doing this for so long, they've forgotten what it means to create instead of consume. The revelation spread across the human fleet, and then to their allies. The Architects were not superior beings managing galactic civilization. They were cosmic locusts, and this galaxy was just their latest feeding ground. Admiral, came a new voice over the communication system. This one was different from the cold, contemptuous tone they had heard before. It sounded tired, almost defeated. We yield, the voice said. Your species, ... we did not understand what you were, single Architect. Ship approached the human fleet under surrender protocols. The being that appeared on the view screen was nothing like what anyone had expected. It looked fragile, ancient beyond measure, and deeply sad. What are we? Admiral Cross asked. You are gardeners with the tools of destroyers, the Architect replied. You nurture what serves life, and you eliminate what threatens it. We have become a threat to life. Accept our fate. We're not going to execute you, Admiral Cross said firmly, but your days of controlling other species are over. Surrender of the Architect fleet was unlike anything in galactic history. Species after species, freed from enhancement drugs and psychological conditioning, turned against their former masters. The Corvani, the Nethrix, the Score, and dozens of others joined the growing alliance. Captain Jake Morrison, watching from his ship, sent a message to Earth. President Clark, the battle is over. The Architects have surrendered. The galaxy is free. But the work was just beginning. The Galactic Council dissolved within days, its members either fleeing or asking for amnesty. In its place, a new federation began to form. Based on cooperation instead of domination, Commander Vexhai, representing the Free Score Nation, worked alongside human diplomats to establish the new government. What will you call this new federation? He asked Ambassador Lisa Grant. The Galactic Alliance, she replied. Every species equal, every voice heard, every civilization free to choose its own path. Years later, the story of humanity's intervention became legend. In schools across 1,000 worlds, children learned about the day the Deathworlders stopped playing fair. They learned about the species that hid its strength until strength was needed to protect the innocent. Dr. Helen Foster, head of interspecies relations, often spoke to young diplomats from many worlds. The most important lesson, she would tell them, is that true strength isn't about the ability to destroy. It's about the wisdom to know when destruction is necessary and the restraint to stop when it's not. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the difference between power and strength, between dominance and leadership. Humanity had shown them that the most dangerous species wasn't the one with the biggest weapons, but the one that refused to let evil triumph simply because fighting. It was difficult. The myth lived on, passed down through generations. Every species remembered the day everything changed. The day the children of Earth showed the galaxy what it meant to be truly civilized. And in the deepest archives of the new Galactic Alliance, a simple message was preserved for future generations. Never mistake human kindness for human weakness. One is a choice. The other is a delusion that can get you killed. The galaxy was finally free, and it would never forget the price of that freedom or the species that paid it willingly.